Finally. Whoa, I am sorry about getting started so late. I don't even know what time it is. It's a few minutes after 7. Sawadee Kap, uh, Tukon, Namaste, Aloha. So, welcome to Sunday Night Live in the US, and welcome to Sunday Night Morning in Asia. Yeah, here we are. So, okay, good. We're here. Yeah, good. Okay, everybody's live. Great. Phew. That was a tough one. I changed. I got a new camera, and uh, it was working perfectly until this morning. It just stopped working, so I'm back on the old one. But here you are, and I'm gonna just give me 1 second here to wait to set me up. There we go. Questions. There we go. Wow, this is too much. Let's get rid of this here. Now, where the heck is this? There you go. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone from Thailand, and this is the probably the most ugh, ill prepared I've been. I've been writing for our new website. You know, we're opening a new clinic in Bangkok very soon, like March, I think. So I just wanted to. I've been doing a lot of writing, and I uh, didn't even have time to look at your questions. I apologize. Um, then, oh, let me get this over here. There, you can see me. I can see you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I got all these cameras all over the place. Anyway, there you guys are. Um, so anyway, as you know, I'm Dr. Thomas Lodi, and today this is a live stream. So today we're gonna try to answer as many questions as possible. I want to apologize to everybody who I have met with in the last week or two, and I haven't gotten back your recommendations yet, and I will. Right after this today is what I'm scheduled focused on today. So I apologize. I've just been doing too much writing, but uh, I am um, um, trying to wake up here. Okay. So anyway, on Facebook, we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, website. Okay, you go to my website and I'll live stream. By the way, and those are all at Dr. Thomas Lodi, except for the Twitter X, which is at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD. Okay, remember that. Yeah. So also, just another note is remember that I think it was 2 weeks ago I did a webinar on parasites because there were so many questions on parasites, always questions on parasites. The parasite problem in the world is extreme. It's much, much worse than I thought. Um, and a lot of people have them. In fact, I mean, have them noticeably. We all have them. So they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You're going to have them. Um, and you're not going to see them mostly. Very few, maybe 1%, 2% of the people ever see adult worms. But you certainly, if it's a protozoa, you won't see an adult protozoa because they're all microscopic. So um, go to my website and get the webinar on parasites, and it goes over almost everything. I mean, everything that we need to know. Put on the fan here. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to do with is on Rumble TV, because we have free speech there. I'm going to start a show, and the show is going to be, or I'm going to go over a few things when we first start out. Maybe some absurd videos I saw over the week. I'll see if I can show them, and then I'll talk about them, or I'll go over an article or something like that. Just something to get us going. And then once we get going, we're going to be taking phone calls, and we'll be able to talk to people directly and um, answer questions. It won't be written in questions. It'll be you can call early. You can call early in the week and leave a voice message. So that'll be set up, but it'll allow me to talk freely and not have to always watch out for my words. And the only thing I have to worry about is the people that are easily offended, and kind of not worrying about that anymore. So, where are we? Actually, we're at the first quarter of 2024, and if you saw the New Year's talk I gave, it's out there. It's on Rumble and it's on YouTube. I think it's full length. It's like 50 minutes or so. But it was meant to just kind of clarify what we mean by New Year's. What is it's New Year's, yeah, in the Gregorian calendar, but it's not Chinese New Year. It's not Thai New Year. So, and there's a lot of ideas about that. So I go over all that, and then I go over the only New Year's resolution you ever need to do. So yeah, watch that. There's no cost on that at all. So anyway, let's get started. So question here is from Marla. This is from the website. Hi, Marla. It says, Dr. Lodi, do you believe that floaters in the eyes are parasites? Is it possible to get rid of them? I suddenly got a lot of them 4 years ago after having my third child. Thank you. Well, I'm not sure if everyone's had floaters, but floaters are pretty normal, and they increase with age. And what they are, they're like it looks like little squiggly things that are moving around. You kind of see them in your peripheral vision, not on your direct vision. And if they happen in older age, which they do after 50, you start to accumulate them more. What happens is the fluid in your eye, it's called the vitreous. It kind of gets more sluggish and forms these little particles. And if they go over your retina, where you can, the part of your eye that sees, then you'll see these things moving around. But that's what floaters usually are. Okay. So anyway, but they are usually not associated with any kind of pain or red eyes or anything like that. They're just kind of there and kind of annoying, and especially if you have a lot of them. And I understand that. So are they due to parasites? The question is a good question, and they could be. They could be. But even if they're not, it doesn't mean you're not going to try to get rid of parasites, right? Because you've got parasites elsewhere. But there are some floaters that are due to parasites. Okay. And the only time it's a problem is if you suddenly start to see an increased amount of them occurring, like they just start, you see a lot of them, and they just start coming more. You should go to an ophthalmologist, an eye doctor with that, right? If it gets red, swollen, or anything like that, you should go to a doctor, yeah. If vision gets blurred, yeah, okay. And then especially if you lose peripheral vision loss, because what can happen is the the retina, which is the back part of the eye, which is the part that sees, can actually detach itself. It can become detached, and if it becomes detached, you've got a big problem. If it becomes all the way detached, you won't be able to see. So that's something that you need to see an ophthalmologist for. All right. Um, anyway, there are some parasites, and I just want to go over a few of them that can go to the eye. They go to the eye. All right. So but these are usually associated with eye pain, blurred vision, sensitivity to light, other things, not just the floaters. And then sometimes you find yourself like tearing a lot. Okay. So there's one called acanthamoeba, and it produces what's called the keratitis. Now, it's just behind the outer side of the cornea, which is the clear part, right? It's just behind there. And they're very common, these guys. They live everywhere. They live in water. They live in, they're in the soil, in the air. They're kind of all over the place. Amoebas are all over the place. That's why most of us have amoebas in us. Um, you've heard of amoebic dysentery. Well, that's what that is. That's an amoeba. But you can also, we find them very often. We find them when we clean out when the biological dentist cleans out a cavitation or removes a root canal, and then they send off the pus for DNA evaluation, and you find out, wow, I had an amoeba in there, and yeah, they'll be in there and they'll live in there for years. So, and by the way, speaking of biological dentistry, I recently did a great um, podcast with Dr. Emma Abramian, who I speak about very often. She's a biological dentist extraordinaire, and so I have her on, and we talked about in generally what is biological dentistry, and we go over kind of the whole breadth of what it covers. Basically, it's everything inside the head, um, and it's not just the teeth, but the teeth are fundamental to to the kinds of problems that we're talking about. But so are the other aspects of biological dentistry. And a lot of it has to do with the substances that are placed in the mouth, dental substances. They're incompatible, even though they may not be necessarily toxic. To some people, they may cause an immune reaction with you. So that's why, you know, a good biological dentist will test your blood against all the different dental. There's like over 2,000 dental substances that can be used. So just got to find the right one. But she'll talk about that. And then the next several sets of podcasts with her will be going over specific aspects like uh, root canals, and cavitations and things like that. Tongue placement, breathing, uh, extracted teeth, all those things. We'll have different segments on that. I just wanted to bring that up. And so anyway, getting back to the parasite problem here in the that can affect the eye. So anyway, these anthamoebas, acanthamoeba, they can hang out in the eye. All right, um, but as I said, if they're there, you're going to have eye pain. You're going to have uh, blurred vision. You're going to have other things. So it's not just that, and you won't see them. And they sometimes show up as floaters, but not really. Then there's another one, toxoplasmosis. We've talked about toxoplasmosis in the past, and especially on the webinar. Um, and that's due to a little protozoa, a little microscopic single-celled organism. One of the necessary parts of their life cycle is in cats, so you find them in cat litters. So you have cats, they can get into you. If you change the litter and things like that, or if you sleep with the cats or anything like that, you can possibly get them. And when they get into the eye, though, because there is a classical presentation when it gets into the eye, where we can see the doctor, when he looks inside, he can see it looks kind of like a light fog. And then there are little areas of necrosis where the tissues have died, and there's a usually the eyes are all red and hemorrhaged, and yeah, it's the kind of thing you notice. There's another one called Toxocara carnes, which is a worm that lives. Um, you can find them all over the place, but anyway, um, they don't cause floaters. They cause cataracts. Yeah. Um, and but those are the ones that can actually turn into uh, CFCs. Now, for all of you who are first listening, I like to clarify the terms before we go further. Um, we don't like to use the word cancer because the word cancer is billions of dollars have been spent on it to make you deathly afraid once you hear that word. So I don't like that word. It paralyzes people. I'd rather call it what it is, and they are chronically fermenting cells. They're cells that have had to adapt to the fact that they don't have the apparatus to use oxygen. That is, they've lost too many mitochondria, and so they've adapted. That's what that is. Now, so in that regard, let's refer to that condition that we're talking about, cancer. Let's refer to it from now on as what they really are. They're successfully fermenting now, so they're going to be chronic. So they're chronically fermenting cells, and they're CFCs. Okay, so let's just use that word, that acronym. All right. Um, instead of that ugly, ugly, ugly word. Okay, now there's another. You know the tapeworm, right? It can produce a condition called cysticercosis, and again that's going to be associated with loss of vision, or pain around the eye. You'll get blind spots, which they call scotoma. They're blind spots rather than floaters, right? And then they also has something else called photopsia. Photopsia is basically uh, again the vitreous is shrinking, and it's because it's inhabited by these guys. Um, but in general, you can have photopsia without parasites. Uh, and what that is when it's shrinking, it puts pressure on the retina, which causes a spark of light, like electrical flash. And so the brain sees it as a flash of light. So that's something else. So those are flashes. Um, and then there's onchocerciasis, which is well known. It's not going to be in this country. You're going to find that in the U.S. It's not going to be North America. You're going to find that more in Africa and places like that. It's not that's uh, anyway, and you get that because a fly bites you, and when the fly bites you, it's a fly called Similium, and when it bites you, it leaves larvae and eggs, and they get into you. So that's that. So it's one of those parasites that are transmitted by vectors. That's what it's called, vector transmission. I was gonna fix that. Let me fix that. Hold on. Let me just fix that. There. I think that's fixed. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I think. All right. Now, then there's the I don't know if you've ever heard, but it's well known. It's called the hydatid cyst, and it comes from the dog tapeworm. So if you have dogs, you can get it, right? And it likes the eyes. One of the species likes eyes, likes our eyes, and it hangs out in there. Doesn't cause floaters. Okay. And then there's another one, which is a pretty weird one, ananthostomiasis. And That's a rare parasite. And what happens is the third stage, the larvae get into the eye and they can cause all kinds of problems. But they cause what's called a uveitis, and with that or an iritis. And an iritis, you see, instead of your whole eye being red, just you have like just around the dark part of your eye, just around it, there's kind of like it looks like a sunshine, you know, these little waves that come out, and those are usually associated with sensitivity to light, because every time you see light and your eyes, your pupils close, it that movement, that muscular movement, is painful. Yeah. Oscariasis. We've talked about oscariasis. It's one of the worms, and sometimes the adult worm, they normally live in the jejunum, in the second part of the small intestines, but they can go to the eye too. And but it always feels like there's something in your eye and it turns red, but it doesn't give you floaters. And then there's leishmaniasis, which is another protozoa, and again, swelling and stuff like that. Uh, and that can it can be confused with other things like a sty or a basal cell carcinoma, tuberculosis. So it can be confused, but it's not a floater. Okay, so floaters are quite distinct things. So and then giardia can do it. We know that giardia is pretty ubiquitous. I mean, so many. Probably most of us have some giardia in us. Yeah. So anyway, so what do you do about it? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing. The cleaner you get, the healthier you get, the less garbage in your body, the more that'll clean up. Because remember, all of that there's a flow of fluid everywhere. Wherever we have fluid in our brain, and we have fluid down our spinal column, we have fluid in our joints, we have fluid everywhere, and it's continually being moved, circulated, and cleaned out. Okay, especially if you're an active person. If you're active, you're going to clean things out quicker. And if you're eating less junk, and you've got lots of times when you're not eating, like for example, you stop eating 18 hours a day and you eat in only 6 hours. If you do that, then your body gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. Do colonics, clean up that colon, work with a lymphatic therapist, get really, really healthy, but just do a lot of movement and clean out the body like that. But these floaters, what happens is they're in, remember, they're these little areas of like where it's congealed, or in the vitreous, the liquid, thick liquid that's in our eyeball that helps our eyeball have a shape. Um, you get little areas of it where that kind of it gets harder. And anyway, they're floating around, but eventually they sink to the bottom and they'll go away. So they should go away. But as I said, if they're increasing and or you get pain or anything like that, then it's time to go see an eye doctor. But as far as should I do a parasite cleanse? Yes, absolutely. And you have a lot of them. This Marla, Mar, Mar, Maria, Maria, Marlia. I'm not sure I'm saying your name right. So don't worry about them. I mean, if they're really, really bothering you, then go to an eye doctor and make an ophthalmologist. Make sure that's what it is. But if it's just a normal floater, it's not a thing that's going to harm you. It's not going to make you blind or anything like that. All right. Now, let's go to the next question. This is from Danielle, and she says, what are your thoughts on taste treatment? I'm thinking of going to Germany for this treatment. I have stage 4 colorectal CFCs. The primary tumor was removed, and then the liver metastases were removed. So they probably cut out part of the liver. Only it's now returned to many lymph nodes. The doctor says 6 months to live. How can the doctor say that? I know how they say it, but I just can't believe they keep saying it. I mean, and this is a point for everyone to keep in mind. Doctors don't know when they are going to die. They don't know when Biden is going to die. Uh, well, if he's alive, I mean, but they don't know that kind of stuff. They don't know the future, and they can't tell you how long you're going to live. They don't know that, and for them to have the gall, for the audacity, and the cruelty to tell someone that is beyond me. I mean, even if God like gave me a whisper in the ear and told me that someone was going to die in 2 months, I'm not going to tell them. But anyway, they don't know. And the reason they don't know is because no one understands how the body works. We don't know what healing is going on. Sometimes, as the body is rebalancing and restoring itself, it presents with symptoms that uh, we're thinking, oh, things are getting worse, but it needed to do that in order to move over here. Because remember, you've got 36 septillion, 21 zeros, 36 septillion chemical reactions going on every second. So you got all this stuff happening, and you're making 37 million new cells per second. So your body's really busy renewing itself and all that. And in the processes of rebalancing, because if you're starting a clean lifestyle, you've decided to clean yourself up, then you're going to have different kinds of symptoms. It looks differently. It affects the healing process is different in everyone, right? Because everyone's starting from a different place. Healing is the same. I mean, healing is healing. The body's always doing what it needs to do, and it has certain laws that it follows, that established by God, that it must follow. But sometimes those can be a problem, and we think they're a problem. So, um, and I like, for example, we're working with somebody. We look at the chart. And we say, oh, wow, the tumor markers went up. What does that mean? I'm not sure. Does it mean it's growing? Does it mean more are dying, or what? So you have to look at other parameters. You look at you look at enzymes like LDH. You look at ferritin to iron ratio. You look at a lot of different biochemical markers to see what's going on. All right, that's how we evaluate. We don't just look at one thing. But so now uh, you have lymph node involvement, right? So it started in your colon. It went and they cut that out. Then it went to your liver. They cut that out. You didn't mention if you had chemo. I'm probably assuming you did have chemotherapy as well. And um, the thing about it is that uh, we know that both surgery can increase metastasis, and we know that chemotherapy absolutely increases metastasis. And there are many, many papers on that. Many papers. It's not just my opinion. Okay. So this is the truth. Um, so then they cut out part of your liver, and now it's in your lymph nodes. Well, it always was there. It's just that they're starting to grow, and it was in your lymph nodes for a purpose, because your lymph nodes are where the decisions are made on how the immune system is going to respond. So sitting in our lymph nodes, which are located all over the body, but they are um, connected by lymphatic vessels that are draining tissues. All the tissues of the body go either through the vein. 90% of the waste goes in, or the of the fluid goes into the vein to be recirculated through the heart. But 10% goes to the lymph, and for a very good reason. This is how we figure out. That's how our immune system figures out if this thing that it encountered is is healthy for us, or it's not. If it's not, it'll develop an immune response. So it's in your immune system. So it's in your lymphatic systems. Now, if the tumor in the lymph node grows and it obliterates the lymph node, that's a whole different thing completely. But so she says here, so now we're done. So doctor says Sid was to live. I do palliative chemo every 2 weeks, which I don't want. I live in England. Oh my God. And my national health insurance wants me to have systemic chemo. I started juicing and I changed to a plant-based diet. Well, fantastic. I'm glad you changed to a plant-based diet. What's interesting? I would like to, uh, that's a term that I don't really know what it means. When people say I'm eating a plant-based diet, does that mean they're eating mostly plants? Because it says plant-based. To me it sounds like, well, I basically plants, but I eat a few other things too. Um, so I'm assuming people mean that I eat a plant diet, which is really important because that's what we're designed to eat. That's how we live long and happy and strong. Yeah, turns out. And I'm sorry for all you people that don't know that and are confused about diets. And that's why I think my next webinar by myself, where I'm going to be teaching you with slides, I think needs to be on food, because there is so much confusion, and there really shouldn't be. There really shouldn't be. I mean, you know, there's no confusion. Is there any confusion with what horses should eat? Is there any confusion with what raccoons should eat? Squirrels, fish? No, there's no creature on the planet that there's any confusion about what its diet is, and they're not confused about it because they're following their instincts. And our problem is we're not allowed to follow instinct because we were raised by people who want us to be good Germans, good Americans, good French, good Africans, good Thai, good Chinese, good Singaporeans, good Ecuadorians, whatever it is. So we're brought up to be cultural responders instead of instinctual responders. And so we lose instinct and we don't know what we would eat. But what do we eat? What do we think is really good for us? What do we love? We love the stuff that we ate up until the age of, let's say, 5 or 6. That becomes our comfort food. That becomes the food we go to, and we're not feeling good or we want to eat. That also becomes a big part of our cravings and all that sort of thing. So, um, I'm glad you changed the plant, and you're juicing. That's excellent. You've got to do a lot more now. Danielle, um, okay, you've given the conventional way, the conventional method. You've given it a go. You've given it a go. You've done your best. You did your part, and you can see now that it doesn't work because they cut it out. It pops up somewhere else. So remember, tumors in the body are kind of like fruit on the tree. They're not the problem. Okay, they're the result. They're the consequence of what's going on in the roots and the stem. And if you picked all the fruit off the tree, next spring or next fall, whenever the harvest is, you're going to have a whole new crop. So, just cutting things off doesn't do it because the problem is systemic. And that's why to heal, we need to work with ourselves systemically. And that starts with a cleanse. You do a juice cleanse, not a water fast, the juice cleanse where you're drinking, vegetable juices. Celery, cucumber, kale, and spinach are really good. You can switch those around. I would keep the celery and cucumber just so you get the volumes of water. I like kale because it's an easy to juice brassica vegetable. And those are really, really important. And then there's um, uh, the fats. We need like 60% fat in our diet. We need, and we should get those in the form of seeds and nuts, which is where all fats and oils actually come from. Um, and they come from the little fruits of the olive tree, because olives, they can produce oil. So oils are produced by plants initially, and then animals take it in and they make animal fat. So there's animal fat too. But fat in animals is it's almost like an organ. It stores energy because you get much more uh, energy out of the same amount of fat as you do out of glucose and protein. All of them can be turned into energy, but the fat has the most. So fat is stored for times of lean. This is for times of where you may not be eating because you're in some place that doesn't have food for a while. So this is what bears do when they hibernate. Okay, they get a lot of extra fat, they eat a lot, and then they go to sleep for a month or two, 3 months, whatever. Fat also stores toxins. So when you do a juice cleanse, you're gonna lose some weight. Okay, that's good. And don't worry about it. If you lose weight, you're not okay. Remember that. So that means you're burning fat. That means your body is not getting enough glucose because you're not you're you're not eating enough glucose through the juicing to sustain a glucose metabolism, and so you start burning fat. And when you burn fat, it turns it into these three different types of molecules called ketone bodies, and our bodies can use those. Yeah, right. And um, but one of the reasons that we need fats is that each one of our cells has a membrane around it. That membrane protects it from the outside and helps separate it as being a distinct entity in wherever it is in the environment it's in. Now these membranes and our membranes of our cells are basically two phospholipids stuck together at the lipid part. This is the lipid part. This is the phosphate part. So they're stuck like this. So you got two phosphates here and lipid in the middle. So these phosphates are electrical conductors because they have a negative charge. So electrons can flow. This here is like an insulator. It cannot flow. So when you have two conductors separated by an insulator, you have what's called a capacitor that holds voltage. What is voltage? Stored electrical energy. And so we need a certain amount of electrical energy. And that's what when we make energy, when we eat and it gets broken down into glucose, and we breathe in the oxygen, and that gets into our mitochondria. We've got oxygen and glucose mixing, producing what's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the storage form of electrons for use. And so when an enzyme or something in your body needs some energy, it grabs an ATP, takes off the terminal phosphate, and releases the energy. And so there's a net amount of electrons in every cell, and it can be measured by something called voltage. And so our voltage to have a healthy cell is anywhere between minus 22, minus 25 millivolts, right? And when you get lower, if you're only making 15 millivolts, you're not going to go to work that day. If you get down to 10, you're sitting in the chair like me all day. You get down to 5 millivolts, you're not getting out of bed. You can get really tired. You can really lose energy because you're not able to store enough electrons in your cells. Okay, that's what it is. Now, so it's the quality of those cell membranes that determines the amount of charge of voltage that can be stored. Now, you bang your finger, you hurt yourself, you have an acute injury, and it has to heal. Now you got to get up to 50 millivolts in order to heal. Okay, and hold it there for a few days. So you've got to have good, strong membranes. If you have a chronic condition like chronically fermenting cells, like arthritis, like diabetes, like all these names for the mythological diseases, you got a chronic situation going on. Now you've got to get up to 70 millivolts and hold it. And if you don't get up to 70 millivolts, you cannot heal. Simple as that. Okay? Because healing is voltage. Voltage is electrons. Electrons are stored in ATP in biological organisms like us. All right? And if you consider, remember we just mentioned that we have 36 septillion chemical reactions going on every second in our body. So we need a lot of energy. We need a lot of things to be done because each one of those enzymes is doing their job. Like, for example, catalase, which is an enzyme, that converts peroxide to water and oxygen, a really important step. It does it to a little over 1 million molecules per second. Yeah, right. So you've got other enzymes that are doing it 900,000 times a second. Others are doing 1.5 million per second. So you got enzymes working really fast. And the only way they can work fast is with energy. So they're getting all this energy. So we need a lot of ATP. So that means we need good healthy fat, because remember, we're making 37 million new cells per second. That's always important to keep in mind. We are making 37 million new cells per second. And in order to make these new cells, you've got to the body has to grab from the nutrient pool, where all the amino acids are, the fats are, the fatty acids, and the carbohydrates, and it mixes them all together and produces a cell. But the fat pool, your fatty acid pool, nutritional for that's come in, and it's available for use in producing new cells in the body. For it to be of a good quality, it's got to come from not KFC, not Pizza Hut, not bacon. It's got to come from seeds, nuts, hemp, chia, pumpkin seeds, almost any seed, not any one, almost any seed. You all know the seeds we can eat and that we love. It comes from nuts. Nuts and seeds are basically the same thing. And that's, so by eating a lot of those kinds of foods, including coconut oil and avocado, you're going to have a lot of fat. So 60% of your diet's fat, which will allow you to very quickly, making 37 million new cells per second, start to develop really healthy cells that can hold in a lot of charge. All right. And that's what we need to do, because remember, charge is electrons, and electrons are what? That's what antioxidants deliver, right? An antioxidant is an electron donor. Okay. Whereas an oxidant steals electrons. And then also, something that is alkaline is an electron donor. Something that is acid steals electrons. Okay, so it's all about electrons being taken or given, and it's the passage of electrons that allows life to happen. It's the flow of electrons. It's electricity, and that's why we do EKGs and other kinds of ways to monitor, to evaluate people. Right? We use that kind of information. Your electrical patterns that your organs are producing will tell us the health of that organ. Okay. So Daniela, you've got to do a lot of stuff. You've got to do some cleansing. You've got to get rid of parasites. You've got to do your biological dentistry. You've got to get a 3D cone beam CT, so it can be read by a biological dentist, not a regular dentist. And we can find out if you've had any teeth extractions, if you've had any root canals or anything like that. We can find out if there's problems, and they're hidden. You don't know about them. You don't feel them. And then we clean out, and then we do colon hydrotherapy. We do all this stuff to clean out, and then we only eat foods that are going to make healthy cells. Okay, so we do that. That's what we do, right? And then we can take certain substances we call metabolic therapies, such as intravenous vitamin C, intravenous curcumin, intravenous quercetin, intravenous artemisinin, which is artesunate, intravenous amygdalin, then there are other botanicals such as boswellia, which is frankincense. So there's a lot of those things that we can use intravenously that help eliminate the CFCs, not because they're toxic, but because the CFCs, being different molecularly, enzymatically than normal cells, just don't have the enzymatic equipment to deal with it, whereas healthy cells do. That's a metabolic therapy. So a metabolic therapy takes advantage of the knowledge of the limitations of CFC biology. What don't they have? Oh, they don't have this enzyme. Well, let's put them in a position where they need that enzyme, but the healthy cells have it, and they won't survive. And that's exactly what metabolic therapies do. All right. So they're very important. And remember, CFCs are very clever. So obviously you can see you got poisoned, you got cut it out. You might, I don't know if you had radiotherapy or not, but as you can see, the CFCs, chemotherapy doesn't bother them that much. They get used to it easily, right? And our healthy cells don't. We don't. We just start to deteriorate. We lose our hair. We vomit. We can't eat. All that stuff. So that's really doesn't make sense, and it doesn't work. And you found that out. Now you've got it in your lymph nodes. Well, that's okay. We need lymphatic work with you as well. And you need to go to bed early. There's a lot of things we can do. And you get these IVs. And you get these IVs 5 days a week, minimum 6 days a week. And different, this one 4 days a week, another one 3 days a week, another one 2 days a week. And you do it so much that the CFCs, although they're pretty smart, they do run out of energy. They get wiped out. And we can overwhelm them. We can overwhelm them with a multitude of metabolic therapies daily. Plus, now you've changed your body's internal environment because you're living and eating healthy, and you're meditating, and going to bed early and moving around, exercising. So now but your body is not really the kind of body that CFCs like. CFCs like low oxygen, and they like a lot of acid and stuff like that. But you won't have that in your body because you'll be living a clean lifestyle. So that's another way. So you're getting rid of them metabolically, and then they don't have a place to nest. And then the third thing we got to do are certain therapies to wake up the immune system, because CFCs are one of their probably the most clever thing they can do is fool around and augment, modify our immune system so that our immune system actually goes against us. They do that. So we've got to return that around. And there are therapies we have for that. So yes, there's ways, Danielle, to get it, and you don't need that. Now, usually TACE, you referred to TACE. It stands for, it's arterial chemotherapy something. Anyway, it's an acronym they use where the interventional radiologist will find an artery that that is feeding a certain part of the body where the tumor is, and they inject it, right? So instead of giving it in your vein where it's going to go all over your body, they're trying to give it into the artery where it's just going to go to the target. So normally, if there's like a few tumors in the liver, people will do a TACE with that. They'll go through the hepatic artery or in the lung or something like that. But lymph nodes, I don't know how you would do TACE with lymph nodes, multiple lymph node metastasis. That doesn't make, I'm not an interventional radiologist, but I don't know how they would do that. I don't think that is possible. TACE does not make sense for that. In fact, I haven't seen it ever do any good. I'm sure that some people have been helped by it, but every time we've had people get TACE, it's caused more problems than they had in the first place. Because the artery that feeds that organ is not just going to the tumor; it's the rest of that organ. That organ happens to be the liver, and you've delivered heavy loads of chemo, and you've not only got the tumor cells, you also got the liver cell. You're going to cause some damage. All right. So, okay. What is that? Can't see too well. So anyway, so that Danielle, that's what I would tell you now. Okay, so TACE treatment. I talked to our interventional radiologist, and I said, look, you're gonna find an artery, which is great. Let's put bicarb in there, because we know that bicarb is going to eliminate the tumor cells just by making it too alkaline, meaning it's going to have what? Too many electrons. It can't deal with it. That's fantastic. Let's electrocute it. And the electrons are like really great for our healthy cells. Yeah, not too many of them, of course. um, but yeah, let's do taste with bicarb. Let's do taste with ozone. Let's do taste with uh, uh, mistletoe. There are other things we can do. We don't have to put in poisons. Um, but it's hard to get the cooperation from the medical profession, because remember, most doctors, and if you're doctors out there listening and you disagree with me, let me know, because I'll tell you something. I've been doing this quite a while, and I went through medical training just like you did. I did my residency. I did all the stuff you did. I was trained in the conventional way of thinking, and I saw that it not only doesn't work in non-acute situations, it works really good in acute situations and trauma, and having a heart attack, or there any babies coming out feet first. There's a lot of times that conventional is the only thing to do. Okay, for sure, not a question. Emergency rooms are amazing and excellent, and we need them for people that are having emergencies. But in terms of the care of the chronically ill, we know that uh, there's no such thing as cures. There's no such thing. There's no you don't if any doctors out there, have you ever seen anyone diabetes get rid of so they no longer have diabetes? Have you ever seen anyone with high blood pressure no longer have it? If that happens, it's because they have changed their lifestyle, because these conditions that we call diseases are really adaptive responses that the body is going through to protect itself. So once you stop doing whatever activity you were doing that caused your body to need to adapt, it stops adapting, and that disease is gone. Right? So someone's got diabetes type 2 and stops eating certain foods, won't have it anymore. Okay. But anyway, other than that, is there any drug that you know of? Is there any drug that you know that can restore the heart and heart failure? Is there any drug that eliminates arthritis, not just slows down the pain? No, there's none. So we don't have any answers. We don't have any answers. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Kathleen. Oh, how do I find your Parasite webinar? I'm not good with technology. Me either. I'm bad. Just go to my website, drlodi.com, drlodi.com. And then you'll see there's at the top, it says podcast. Just press on a webinar. Oh, wait. The webinar is on parasites. It's one on Rumble. Well, go to Rumble TV and you'll find, no, I'm wrong. I'm getting this mixed up. The podcasts are on Rumble TV. The webinar is available on my website. So you go to the website and you look for the webinar, and then you can get it there. So go drlodi.com. All right. I want to talk to TikTok for people for a second. You guys have Instagram, Facebook, a lot of questions for me over the week, right? And I want to answer everyone. I think if you took the time to write them, you deserve me to answer them, and I can't get to them all. I can't. So we're trying to, and I don't feel if anyone's got any ideas, how do we do this? Because there's so many questions out there, and they're all important. But how do I do it? I mean, I'm only one person. I can't possibly go through, I've got thousands on each platform. So what we're thinking of, what we're going to do now is we're going to get somebody that's going to go together, go on the platforms and pull off the questions and group them. The ones that are involved with breast CFCs, the ones that are involved with parasites, the ones that are involved with colon CFCs, whatever, and try to group them, and then I can start addressing them in that way. And then occasionally, then I'm also going to still try to go on and individually do it. But I think it's better if you have a question, your question is probably relevant to at least 100 other people, at least. So we might as well say it, live or on some sort of video where we answer the question. So we'll have them on the webpage soon. Will be areas like frequently asked questions, and it'll be all the different clips of live streams and other video presentations that have addressed that specific question. So you can look under tamoxifen, and you can get all of them, and you can watch it. Just so I want to try to organize that, because I have answered a lot of these questions already. But really, I feel like I just feel terrible that I don't do that. I apologize for not getting to you all. But TikTok, you guys have so many, so I've got to, and they're all sincere. You're all sincere people. I really appreciate that. You're all sincere people. So you're a wonderful group of people. So you deserve answers. I just gotta clone myself so I can do that. I'd love to do that, or just do this live every day. Do nothing else. Just keep the computer on live all the time. Something bizarre like that. Why is ginger not good for everyone, gut-wise? Well, ginger is a really, really well-known botanical product that has been used for thousands of years, and specifically for gut. It works really good for gut. It's got anti-inflammatory properties, so it's really good. So the only reason someone wouldn't have ginger is if it burned them, or they had like an ulcer or something. It might burn. So other than that, if there's no open wounds or anything like that, ginger will be good. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's like frankincense, boswellia, curcumin. All of these, they have multiple activities or functions, right? So our next question here is, this is from Emily, and topic is colorectal CFCs. I have colorectal CFCs, 5.5 years. It's inoperable. I have not done conventional treatment for 4 years, as maxed the radiation level I'm allowed. Oh my God. I'm struggling with pain in the last 3 months. I loathe to go back to oncology hell house. Absolutely. Have done several anti-parasitic protocols. How often can I take ivermectin? Any suggestions on how to alleviate the pain, and what would you suggest as next move? I'm doing juicing, no sugar. All right, Emily. So you've had it for 5 years. It's inoperable, meaning that it's probably too close to a vessel or other organ. They couldn't separate it, or it's widespread. That's okay, because remember, it's just the fruit on the tree. We're talking about the problem is systemic. Now, if you're having pain, it depends on what your pain is coming from. If your pain is coming from the sheer size of the tumor pressing on nerves or pressing on other organs, or if it's blocking the flow of something, that's one thing, right? If it has to do with size and stuff like that. If the pain is due to, I don't know, it's compressing the spinal column, and you're pinching off a peripheral nerve or something like that, that's another problem. So I don't know what your pain is due to. However, the usual way that conventional doctors treat pain is absurd. mostly narcotics, and they use what they call um, anti-inflammatories, right? So they can use steroids for anti-inflammatories. They can use non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents such as ibuprofen and aspirin and Aleve and naproxen and those kinds of things. Um, and then they've got other ones for neuropathic nerve pain, but none of them work. None of them work except the NSAIDs. Actually, the ibuprofens and those, they work because a lot of pain is due to inflammation. It's a big part of it. So remember, in anti-inflammatories actually have three actions. They're antipyretic. They turn off fever. Anti-inflammatory and analgesic, meaning they get rid of pain. So when you're talking about Tylenol or paracetamol, those just are analgesic, but they have no anti-inflammatory and they have no um, um, anti anti-inflammatory, and they have no. That's the only property they have is analgesia, but they do have antipyretic. They do lower fever, but again, we don't want to lower fever. Okay, fevers are good. They wake up the immune system. They allow the immune system. See, the immune system is usually on surveillance mode. Kind of like it's just in the tissues. These monocytes, which are certain lymphocytes that are produced in the bone marrow and are in the blood. When they travel in the blood, and then when they get to the organ that they like or whatever, they're attracted to by chemicals. They go through the blood vessel, extravasate into that area and become what's called a tissue macrophage. So in the liver, they're called Kupffer cells. In the brain, they're called glial cells, and you know, wherever they are, every tissue, the bone, they all have their own macrophages. And macrophages are like the Marines. They're like, they're this on patrol, and as soon as they see something, they eat it, phagocytize it, and then they'll take a piece of it back to one of the T cells and show the T cell the all the information that the T cell needs. So now the T cells will go after it as well. So you can stimulate it. But anyway, all of this is enhanced by fever. So, because if our immune system was turned on all the time, we would have no hair. Our skin would fall off. We'd be attacking, right? So you've got to have a way to modulate it, and we do. We have one of our T cells, one group of T cells called T4 cells, can also turn into what are called T regulatory cells, Tregs, to kind of tone down, so that because remember in all of biology, there's an on-off switch, and it's kind of modulated real carefully, right? It's kind of like driving. You don't just hold the wheel straight. It's like this. But anyway, so there's that's what happens. So the immune system's on patrol. It's looking for anything foreign, anything foreign to the body, or a cell in the body that's become abnormal, like a chronically fermenting cell, and it eats it and it shows it to the T cell, so the T cell can now develop a response and become what's called the cytotoxic T cell, going after that particular thing. So, but anyway, everything's kind of like in neutral when you're healthy, sitting around, whatever. But you run into something and you need the immune system, you'll get a fever. That's a good sign. That means your body's working. That means yay. There are people that get so sick they can't mount the fever anymore. And what does a lizard do? Can you imagine you think you got problems? Imagine a lizard. It gets sick. It can't get a fever because it's cold-blooded. Neither can a fish. Neither can a amphibian. Neither can a snake. So they have to find a hot rock in this desert and crawl onto it and bake in the sun, and they get external heat, hyperthermia. But we get a fever, and we find out that our immune system really kicks in at around 39 degrees centigrade, which is what, about 103 Fahrenheit, around there. That's when it kicks in, and it gets the most active. So fever is good. You don't want to lower it. And don't worry about the seizures and all that stuff that people talk about, because for example, if you have a baby and they have a fever, let it get a fever, but because the fever is how it's getting it's learning how to use its immune system. This is a little kid outside in the dirt with a runny nose. That's perfect. They are developing immunity. Okay, that's the way you get a strong immune system, is by exposing it so that it learns how to. It develops what's called adaptive immunity to all sorts of stuff in the environment, but also the mechanisms to do that are increased and become easier to use. So you have a baby that's really, really febrile, and you don't want them to have seizure, and that's usually above 105, above 41 centigrade. You just get some wet towels, wet washcloths, not cold, just wet, cool, cool water, not normal tap water, without the heat, hot water, and just put it on their belly, under their armpits, on their neck, and in their groin, just those areas there. Just cool them off, and just cool them off. Keep them down to around 104, 103, and that fever is going to bring their immune system around, because there's nothing else you can do. You're going to give antibiotics and kill what? You're going to kill the healthy bacteria in the gut, which are largely responsible for our immune system. They do many things, but one of the big ones is the immune system. But anyway, that's what most doctors do. They give antibiotics for anything. And they get rid of the fever, because the fever, when you have a fever, because of all you're recruiting all your white blood cells, they produce chemicals called cytokines, which are messengers to other immune cells. But when you have a lot of cytokines is when you feel kind of sick. When you don't feel real good from the fever, that's because of the cytokines. But those cytokines are necessary. It's part of the whole thing. So it's not comfortable, but it's necessary to develop an immunity, so that you have a good, strong immunity. All right? Because there's enough things in our environment on purpose to destroy our immunity. Absolutely. Okay? So you don't need to get an injection to prevent something. You know what they call those, right? They call them, it starts with a V for vendetta. Is that it? Anyway, V. Anyway, so you certainly don't want that. Okay, you don't need that. You don't need that. And they don't work. And they do other bad things. Okay. The whole thing is just not really what it's all made up to be. See, when we get that Rumble channel, I won't have to talk in this weird way. I can actually speak. I can say use the real words, say it directly. So you want the fever. As a matter of fact, probably the most effective therapy for CFCs throughout all the history, or since the 19th century, 18th century, 20th century, earliest 20th centuries, like 1900, 1905, up to now, that has the longest remissions, 40, 50 years. I mean, in other words, it was gone, was inducing fever, just inducing fever. That was Dr. William Coley. It was called Coley's toxins, and he would make people febrile. Because the fever not only it wakes up the immune system, And if you wake up the immune system, listen, if you have an optimally functioning immune system, there will be no CFCs left in your body in short order, 2 weeks. None. And no new ones can grow. All right? An optimally functioning immune system. We don't. And we don't for multiple reasons. Because of our lifestyle, mostly. And then secondarily, our exposures. These EMF, these electromagnetic frequencies we're getting from 4G and 5G and whatever 3G is. I can't even imagine what 6G is. But these are frequencies that actually paralyze the what are called voltage-gated calcium channels on our cells, right? Because cells need calciums for a variety of reasons. So if you paralyze the gate, then they just flow in. It's like someone opened the door and they flow in like 1,000,000 per second. And when they get in, they stimulate nitric oxide production, turns into peroxynitrites, and then eventually becomes hydroxyl radicals and all this nasty stuff. And that's where the damage comes from. Yeah. So, that's EMF damage. So we've got to learn. And by the way, Faraday hats, Faraday covers for your phone, eventually Faraday clothing. If you live in an apartment building or a condo and you've got people above and below and next to you, get like a Faraday cage to encase your bed in, and protect yourself. You have to. But anyway, your next move, Emily, you got to listen. Go to my website, drlodi.com, and book an appointment. I know it's going to be a long way out. The other thing you can do is go to my clinic in the United States in Arizona, an Oasis of Healing. You can get in there probably very quickly, and then I still am the medical director there. I mean, I still, even though I'm here, I Zoom with the doctors every week, go over every person's situation, and so I'm still managing the situation. I'd be happy to get you there, but it's a complete full clinic. We've got everything you need, and we'll help you. So if you can go to an Oasis of Healing, oasisofhealing.com, or you can get there just by typing stopmakingcancer.com. It'll redirect you. Okay. All right. Go there. Or if you have a practitioner near you, somebody who is understands that what the kinds of things we're talking about, but it's not as familiar with CFCs, I would be delighted to collaborate with him or her. Right? We can, I can say that you don't have to travel. So I don't know your situation, but do that, Emily. Okay. Now this is Sab. Hello, I was diagnosed with breast CFCs, HER2 negative, ERMP are positive, microcalcifications and lymph nodes. I refuse the entire protocol, chemo, mastectomy, radiotherapy. I follow a plant-based diet. I fast, take food supplements, but it does not decrease. What can I do? Okay. All right. Good. So fantastic, Sab. Sab. I love what you're doing. Okay. It's just not enough. Okay. For anybody out there, where if you're doing the things that we're talking about, it's not enough. And there's usually two things the two main, maybe three areas or things that get in the way of like when healing, like I'm getting better, but I hit a wall. I can't get better. One is we didn't find one of the fundamental causes. In other words, there's a cavitation in here on that meridian, on the breast meridian, or other gingival, gum disease, gum inflammation and all that stuff. That because remember, we have a oral biome, microorganisms, okay? And to have them in the right proportions and all the right species, the result is a really healthy mouth, because they help every aspect of the whole of the functions of the mouth. Now, the mouth is the top part of the gastrointestinal tract, so that goes right. So whatever's in your mouth can and does affect your gut. And we know that. We know there are certain bacteria in the that are found in the mouth that are related to colon CFCs and other ones. So I mean, so so if you've got inflamed gums and all that, then that means you've got a dysbiosis. That means your oral microbiota is imbalanced. We've got to bring that back into balance. So anyway, we've got to start with that. We've got to start with your tube, and we've got to clean you out completely. You got to do a good juice cleanse. You need colon hydrotherapy. You need all that stuff. But also there are, and you don't just eat a plant-based diet. You eat food the way it's called earth food, and we call it earth food or real food because it's made by the earth. And our assumption under the directions of God. Okay, so the recipe written by God, the ingredients, everything. Go ahead, make it. The plant makes it. And I've noticed that tomato plants are producing tomatoes, not tomato sauce. And the potatoes, when you pull them up on the ground, they're not baked. The apples are not stewed. In other words, the way the food is produced by the earth is in a perfect condition for all of those for whom it is meant, including us, without any intervention with fire. All right? So eating food in its natural state is, I cannot, there's no way to overstate how important that is. And I challenge anyone to do it for 4 to 6 weeks. 100%, not one grain of rice. 100% uncooked food. And you're going to see. If you get to 3 months, you're going to be like a new person, a new being. You just won't believe, you won't be able to, you'll have no reference point for how good you feel, how fantastic you feel, how vibrant and how alive you feel. First of all, the most powerful anti-inflammatory in the world is uncooked food. Dr. Luigi Fontana from Washington University, who did a study looking at people who were ate uncooked food for a minimum of 3.5 years, aged 18 to 80 versus another group aged 18 to 80 who ate regular food. And he just looked at all the different blood tests and bone density tests, et cetera, et cetera. Just wanted to see what were the differences. And the people that ate the uncooked food had undetectable CRPs, C-reactive protein. That means they did not have any inflammation going on. Powerful. Why? Because cooked food is seen by the body as a foreign substance. Why? Because it is. Why is it foreign? It's artificial. Artificial? That's organic. No. Whatever you brought into the kitchen chemically is no longer that when you've applied fire. You've changed it chemically. It's called an endothermic chemical reaction. You now are serving something that is produced by humans. And humans, what we produce is called artificial. What God produces is called natural. Since our bodies are natural, we need natural substances to replenish it. We cannot put artificial substances in our body and have them be incorporated into our flesh and blood. For example, you cannot eat saran wrap. I mean, you could, but your body's going to do everything it can to get rid of it. Same with tin foil. Same with cooked food. Okay. So now, so if you don't have CFCs and you're not really, you're going to say, well, I'm not going to do that. Okay, don't. But everyone owes it to themselves. Listen, you owe it to you. How long have you been eating? 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, 20 years, whatever it is. How old you are, how long have you been eating? And you're going to be eating another 60, 80, 100 years, whatever it is. Take out a short time right now and give yourself the opportunity to know what health is and eat that way for 6 months. 9 months, ideal, but 6. What will happen to your body and you and your mind and everything about it is that you will be in a state of health. You'll have a state of energy, of clarity that you haven't had since you were like 8 years old, running as fast as you could and not getting tired. I mean, you get like that. The reason that's so important is now nobody's going to stick to it because we grew up eating the other stuff. And as I said before, whatever you've eaten by the time you get to 5 to 6 becomes your comfort food, your emotional food. You got to have food, all that sort of thing. But you're going to limit that. You're going to limit that. First of all, if it involves animal corpses, or it involves secretions that come out of animals, or excretions. I don't know, like milk, urine. I don't know if people drink urine. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. This may not. I mean, you might not have ever thought of this, but you know, when the cows are, and the pigs, whatever, when they're going into the slaughterhouse and they slaughter them, and they die. Well, when all animals die, including humans, their bowels release, their bladders release. And so by the time they get these corpses up and start processing them for sale, they've already been pre-marinated. So that's right. There you go. Isn't that good news now? Now you know you don't really have to marinate your food because the flesh that you eat, because it's pre-marinated in urine and feces and some other bodily fluids that come out, maybe some blood. But anyway, so if you eat animal corpses, put it on hold for a while. Try it. But if you're going to eat, if you say, okay, all right, good. Okay, so eat the animal food, eat uncooked food, and eat the flesh uncooked. At least that. All right, if you're going to eat flesh, eat the uncooked flesh. And then you better do 60 to 70 cycles of antiparasitics when you're done with that. Anyway, so I would like, if you try it, because what I want you to do is experience health. Because once you've experienced, now you say, okay, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to eat 20% of other stuff, cooked food. Okay, but now you have a reference, a true reference. Now you already know what it feels like to be healthy. So then you can eat this thing that you used to love and say, that's okay. It doesn't change me too much. Oh, but the other one I can't. And you'll kind of figure out what really, because you'll have a reference point now. Right now, we have no reference point because we haven't felt good in a long time. I mean, if you're an athlete, then you probably do because you burn off a lot of the junk. Athletes probably do feel pretty good and pretty sore, but they burn out a lot. They get rid of a lot. They excrete a lot. That's probably one of the major importances. No, it's not one. Just one. There's so much to movement. That's by the way, Darren. I did one webinar with Darren. You saw that on movement. We're going to do more. The other day we were supposed to do one and I missed it. Well, how did I miss it? I woke up late and I was so sorry because he's in Canada. He was in Canada. So anyway, we're going to do it again this week, and then I want to get back on the movement. So remember, movement, biological dentistry, and then we're going to have more with Donato Perez Garcia, third, and this time we're going to have the next webinar. We're going to have not only are we going to have Rebecca, and we're also going to have another doctor by the name of Sean Devlin. Excellent. People that have been doing insulin potentiated therapies for decades. So we're going to talk about that because everyone likes to know about that, wants to know about IPT, and these are the guys. This is where it comes from. We have been the instructors of almost everybody that's doing it today. But anyway, so once you have experienced health and you know what it is, you now can decide what to eat that is less than ideal. That means it's been killed in some way, right? Because boiling and steaming, you kill the enzymes, so the food is dead. By the way, don't believe me, okay? I want you to think, hey, this guy's crazy. What does he that? Uncooked food, what raw food? What the hell? How do you eat French fries, man? No, I'm going to eat a chili cheese raw. Okay, no. Don't believe me? Pick up a book called The Pottinger Prophecy. I like it because it's the Pottinger study plus a lot of other amazing. It's a beautiful book, important book. Okay. Hey, another show we're going to do. I'm going to take one day, and I don't know if you guys are into this at all, but I just thought it might be interesting because I have a very eclectic books that I've read over the years, and this is just part of them. And I thought we'd do is just take books off and we'll talk about them. So really interesting books, and you might want to get them if they're available, anymore. So I thought we'd have a book day too, a video day, stuff like that. There's some videos on the internet that blow my mind. I mean, there was a guy on there saying, very serious, took a long time, saying that broccoli is bad for you. I got to find that and then play it for you guys. Broccoli is bad for you? You all know Johns Hopkins University. They were founded by probably pretty much the Rockefeller, and they're pretty much conventional and very much conventional. They were part of the whole Event 201 that was the tabletop exercise for the great hoax of 2020. And anyway, so they're pretty much mainstream. Anyway, they had an entire laboratory devoted to brassica vegetables. And they had this PhD named Jed Fahey, now retired, started all the work. And all the information that we now know about brassica, most of it came from there originally. They wouldn't spend that money. They wouldn't devote a whole lab. And also, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, whenever I hear people saying things about, soy's bad, here's the thing. Don't believe anybody anymore, especially doctors. If a doctor says something, say, great, doc, that's wonderful. Thank you for telling me. Can you show me the research you read so I can understand? I like to understand it myself. I want to know how you came to that opinion. Ask him, her, them, she, or it, they, us. Are there more pronouns? Well, there's subjective pronouns, we, objective pronouns, direct objects, direct objects. Um, uh, anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, let's get back to what the heck. All right, let's get back. Where are we here? Okay, cool. Now, breast also, listen, if you've got, by the way, breast CFCs, you need lots of soy, whether it's a triple negative, triple positive, it doesn't matter. You need lots of soy, and flax. And then you got to be 60% fat, so you're going to do chia porridge every morning too. Okay, now, okay, I got to get to, you need, okay, it's more parasite. Let me, okay, this is Kelsey. Hello, if unable to afford to see you or find and afford a lymphatic specialist 5 days a week, is it urgent to get breast removed due to inflammatory breast CFCs? Can it spread through the skin, and how would one even know? You know, that's a good question. The iodine is helping. Thanks. Yeah. Keep doing the iodine. The other one is like I said, you do as long as you can, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, 8 week, 10 week, only juice diet. Okay, remember that when you eat juice, you're not getting only 2 nutrients, fats and fiber. You're getting everything else. Put a variety of vegetables in there. Okay, you're going to be well nourished, super nourished, but you're going to start totally getting uninflamed. Then when you start eating again, eat only uncooked food, raw food, real food, earth food. Okay, eat that. And you're going to see. Forget your taste. Everybody, why do you eat? Why do we eat? Do we eat to please our tongue? Is that the purpose of eating? Is this like a sensory, I'm going to get off now kind of thing? Unfortunately, it's become that. We've turned eating into some sort of sensual entertainment. Well, it can and should be, and God gave us the sensations of taste and smell, and connected it to our pleasure centers. So yeah, it's supposed to be that way. But remember, you could have, if you grew up eating, as I said, always say, if you grew up eating live monkey brains like they do in China, some places, that would be one of your go-to foods. But anyway, just think about it. When you sit down to eat, you're going to eat your favorite meal. I've done this before, but I'm going to do it one more time because some people might be new. Anyway, you sit down to have your favorite meal, right? You can't wait. You're salivating. You're all excited. There it is, whatever it is. And you're going to eat it. And you take the first bite and you just, you love it. You get it. You taste it. You smell it. You go, right? You have this moment. And then second bite, you start doing it. Pretty soon, your third bite, you're talking, and then you might remember again on the 6th or 7th bite, and pretty soon you're done. And so if you go back, so the meal lasted, let's say the meal lasted 30 minutes. You go back to how much of that 30 minutes did you spend actually like in ecstasy? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, max, 3. Okay. So you're going to trade 3 minutes of ecstasy for your health, for your well-being, because now whatever you've eaten is in there and it's got to be dealt with. And if it's not helping you, it's hurting you. All right. And you don't need anything to not help you right now. It just doesn't make sense. Just eat the food. Just believe me. You listen. Just listen and do the research. But if you've got inflammatory breast CFCs, okay, that just means it's in the lymphatics. You can't afford to do it. You've got to find a way of doing it. Do you have a lymphatic? Do you have a rebounder? Get a rebounder. They're not expensive at all, and you can do that at home. Do that a lot. Start doing exercises, and I am going to. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to do a podcast with my lymphatic therapist and have her on one time because I really want her to. I'm going to ask her this question and try to get and try to answer you, Kelsey, better next time. But again, we want to reduce the inflammation of the whole body, not just the lymphatics there. We got to get your lymphatics moving. And your lymphatics will be moving if your body is moving. And remember something, all of the lower body, most of the lower body, and all the whole left upper extremity, all that, all comes up through one lymph vessel called the cisterna chyli. And that empties back into your vena cava, into your, I think, your subclavian vein, which goes into your vena cava. So every time you take a deep breath and your diaphragm goes down and then up, you squeeze it and you're moving your lymph along. That's why laughing, real laughing, not chuckling, but a real heavy laugh is cleans out your lymph. It stimulates your immune system because your lymphatics system is your immune system. All right, but that's that. The other thing that I can tell you for sure, Kelsey, is this. Microcirculation, that means the circulation that's occurring at the microscopic level in our tissues, is mediated by the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. And one of the best ways to rebalance them is to go hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. At least 9 colds, 8 hots. I mean, really hot, really cold. Because what happens is they get rebalanced. You've got to rebalance. Okay. So I would do hot and cold to the breast. I'm going to talk to my lymphatic therapist. I'm going to get you a better answer. But you've got to be able to keep doing the iodine. We also got to try to get you 2-methoxyestradiol, which is 2-Me2. See if you can find somebody. And, I'll tell you what, maybe if send an email to our website, drlodi.com, and you go in there, and I think it's hello@drlodi.com. And Kelsey, just send in a email and direct it to Fa, my assistant, FAH, and tell her that I wanted to tell you a few things, so that I need to just tell her to connect us somehow. Okay, thank you. Anyway, somebody's just saying they have a child who's been vegan all his life and he's got an allergy to peanuts. Where was that? An allergy to peanuts. Yeah. Does that mean parasites? He's had this since birth, and he's been vegan since birth. He's 7 years old. Is there a parasite cleanse that helps? Yeah, listen, it could easily be there's ectoparasites. Parasites are on the outside of the body, but there's also the manifestations from eczema could be one of them. He definitely's got parasites for sure. Is that causing that? I don't know. Now, we can do a cleanse with him. Yeah, most of these drugs are all really are really harmless, and you just take them in lower amounts. And you can see on any of the bottles of the drugs, and look at even on the internet, that there is dosages for children. All right, so you need to be taking at least 3, and then but Camille, what I want to ask you is, did he get vaccinated at all? All right. Now, okay, here, this is from Jane Victoria. Is triple negative breast CFCs with all of its subvariants treatable through an integrative approach, removing chemo after a lumpectomy and clear lymph node removal? Yeah, and it would have been before that, but now that you did it, yes. And now, especially now, Jane Victoria, because you the surgery actually, made the stem cells spread. Okay. Um. Anyway, yes, definitely. Triple negative is, they make a big deal. They like these are just, it's nonsense. Triple negative, and then they say that, the next worst one is triple positive. What? What? If you get into this, you're going to find out that you're going to find out why they don't succeed, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how to fix their own selves, their own bodies. Look at most of them. I don't. If I go to conferences with these guys, I don't eat. I can't even eat with them. I don't even want to watch them eat. And I don't want to hear their stories. I don't want to know them personally, because I find out that they're really idiots. Sorry, docs. I don't know. Listen, I think to get into medical school, look, you know what you had to do to get into medical school? You had to be the top 10%, right? So not only are you going to be a nerd, but you're going to be an evil nerd, right? Because you're going to sabotage other people's experiments. They did all kinds of stuff. Pre-med students are notorious for that. And then you get into medical school, and now you got everybody telling you how fantastic you are, and you're treated like a special person, and somehow you think you're not whatever, and that whatever you say is true. So same with me. Don't believe me. If I tell you something, say, show me the evidence, and I'll show you, because that's all I do. That's all I do. I let me repeat that. That is all I do. I study. I've been a student since before I could read. I remember holding a book and pretending that I could read. All right. So, yeah. But triple negative. So many things. Please, Jane Victoria, we have to. Yeah. And don't. Yeah. And they've already done what they've done. They've taken. I hope they didn't take out too many lymph nodes. But yes, definitely. I have that video series on my website. Stop Making Cancer. That word again. It's like 7 or 8 hours of videos of me, Darren, Kim, the one of the chefs, raw chefs, teaching you how to make all the raw food, and then Tenson helping you with meditation, and then me, I give you multiple lectures and stuff like that, and that's a good way to start. And then you can do private sessions with Darren, private with we have another chef at our center, Ika, who is a master chef. She, if you come from somewhere in the Midwest and your favorite food is, I don't know, people eat. Is it meatloaf, mashed potatoes? I don't know. Where is that? Southern California? I don't know. Anyway, let's say that's your favorite food. She'll just say, well, let me see the recipe. She's going to come back with something that you're going to think is wow. Yeah. And it's going to be uncooked and organic. Yeah. So, because if it doesn't taste good, not only will you not continue, when you are eating it, your immune system will be suppressed because you're going to feel deprived. So it's got to taste good. So anyway, Ika is a very special person at our center in Arizona. We should call her make it feel good girl. I am taste good girl. She makes it taste good, whatever it is. We had a couple from Pakistan who couldn't who didn't really like the raw dishes because they were basically American based. And so she spoke to them and her husband, and she found out they liked what they liked, and she reproduced it raw. And they were the wife said, "Whoa, I can eat that," So yeah, is surgery essential when the diagnosis with uterine CFCs? No, no. The answer is just no, and it depends on the situation. I don't know your particular situation. But for all of you in general, surgery is when we have a situation where, uh, first of all, if surgery was the answer, then this whole field would be easy, right? You just cut it out and you're done. But and so it's not the answer. You don't cut off all the apples off the poison apple tree, you're going to have a new harvest. So, but unless I don't know how big it is, what it's doing, there's, is it bleeding? There's a lot of reasons that you might have to, I don't know. But the answer is no, not necessarily. Next one is, let's keep going down here. We got to get to some other people. I feel bad I missed so many of you guys. And this one, I saw this before, Carolina. My loved one has been diagnosed with liver CFCs. Please, what would you recommend? You guys understand, and please understand, they're all the same. Whether they start in the liver, the heart, the brain, they don't start in the heart. Brain, colon, ovary, testes. It's just they start in a different location. So if you're saying it's a liver, are you saying it's a primary, what they call hepatoma, and it started from liver tissue? Or is it metastatic to the liver? And what goes to the liver? What doesn't? The colon, pancreas, lungs, breast. So if you have a lesion in your liver, it could be from any of those. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Yes, there's a way to treat it. What would I recommend that your friend Carolina, would you recommend is that we, first of all, we got to give it, you got to clean. Remember, the first thing you do is clean. Get rid of any potential toxin that could initiate the whole process again. Get rid of that. Then you start eating food that feeds your immune system, that feeds your cells, that makes you into a vibrant being. All right? That's what you do. All right. And, but also keep in mind too, if we're talking about the liver or we're talking about any gastrointestinal organ, there's more of a reason to fast, to do fasting, some period of fasting. Why? Because when an organ is ill, when you're ill, you sprained your ankle, your whatever it is, you've got to rest it to let it heal. If you're not feeling good, you rest, and resting is how we heal. So you've got to rest. How do you rest the liver? How do you rest the stomach? How do you rest the pancreas? How do you rest the colon? By not eating. That's it. Clean it out. Clean all the feces out. Get it all cleaned out and stop eating. Make sure you got plenty of water. No such thing as dry fasting. I mean, there's a such thing, but it shouldn't exist. It's crazy. Anyway. Yeah. We can, and I've worked with liver CFCs a long time, and whether it's primary or not. Okay. Wow. So pain with unknown cause. Wow. Pain under left arm. One thing you got to do with your pain, you got to get your voltage up, because one of the signs of low voltage is pain. And you got to get your voltage up. That means you got to eat lots of fats. I mean, no matter what, I have no idea what it's going. It might be coming from. You've got a tumor you can't see. It's pressing on spinal nerve or it's pressing on another peripheral nerve. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't even know where it is. It's just a left armpit. There's a whole group of nerves in that area called the brachial plexus, just all kinds of nerves and blood vessels and stuff. So there's anything could be going on, but I'm surprised they can't. You had an ultrasound and nothing was found. You're having back pain now. So you need to get unfortunately, you need to get a CT with contrast or a PET CT. I get a PET CT. So afterwards, you'll be taking a lot of vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, E, I said, and like a week or two before, and you keep doing it during it, and then right after the scan, you go in and you get an IV of like 8 to 10 grams an hour for 4 or 5 hours to undo a lot of the damage from the scan. Okay, so hi, this is Marley. Instead of a 14 to 21 day water fast, would this one be almost as beneficial when done consecutively? 5 days water, then 1 day food, then 10 days water, then 1 day food, then 7 days more water before completely breaking? Yeah, if you can do that, that's fantastic. Yes, yeah, do that. That sounds crazy. Great. Another thing you can do, another amazing, amazing, amazing thing is, can anybody fast 1 day? Probably. So eat every other day. So if you eat every other day, you're fasting every other day. And whenever you're fasting, no matter how bad you feel, you know you're going to eat tomorrow, so you can get through it. But imagine if you did that, that means you fasted 6 months a year. I can't even imagine what would happen. All right, so here, this is Julie Q K. Zuli K. I'm 43-year-old and I have been struggling with anemia for the past 3 years. My periods are not as heavy as they used to be. A doctor sent me once to get 3 infusions and felt better. It has been about 4 months since the infusions and I'm back to having anemia. I started eating 80% raw food and about 3 months ago. What can I do to not have anemia anymore? I'm tired of feeling sick, tired and cold every morning. All right, so, and your hair's falling out. Okay, sounds like, okay, you could easily, well, everybody does have low thyroid function. Unless you come from Kyushu or Hokkaido or Okinawa or Nagano, Tokyo or Osaka, or yeah. So unless you're from around, you probably have a low thyroid. So and low thyroid is going to affect everything, including your blood. But if you're getting that anemic that quickly, you've got to make sure you're not bleeding. And I don't know how old you are, but there's something called the stool guaiac test, just to make sure there's no blood in your stool, because you could have an ulcer, not even in your stomach, in your duodenum, your small intestine, that's oozing blood, and it'll show up in your stool, but you don't see it because it's not red anymore, and you could be losing blood that way because your periods aren't that heavy. You're right. Your periods, if you're having, even if that heavy periods, you get to a certain point, it doesn't keep going down, because somebody should do a test called the reticulocyte count to see how well you're responding to the fact that you have low. That's a blood test that shows how is your bone marrow doing the job it needs to do. So there's a lot of things to check. So with anemia, are you bleeding from somewhere other than your period? It sounds like you're losing a lot. And when you say anemic, I don't know what you mean. Like normal for a woman is around 12.5 of hemoglobin. So if you're just down to 11, but that might be where you'll stay if you're have heavy menstrual. But if you're getting down to not 10 and something, or lower, But why? So are you bleeding, or your bone marrow is shut down for some reason? You're not making them, And one of those reasons could, and it's not your bone marrow, or you're malnourished. It doesn't sound like you're malnourished. Or your red blood cells are bursting, called hemolysis, for some reason. So there's multiple reasons why, and you got to find out. It's not always just iron deficiency anemia. So there's lots of reasons. So Zulike, drlodi.com. Let's talk, because I don't know your situation. And I gotta go, you guys. So Wadi Kap, Mama Kap, and sorry I didn't get to everything, and I'm so sorry about the early people. But and I'm still on the old camera. But anyway, listen, I thank you guys for hanging in there, and fantastic.